Okay, guys, looks like most people are out of the waiting room. I'm going to keep watching that. Sorry, I have to be on my phone. My home Wi-Fi is not working, and I'm pretty sure that's what happened the last time I did this for you guys. Okay, so today we are going to talk about time management. And if you are like, I'm so tired of hearing that heifer talk about this, me too. Me too. Except for this is something that continually comes up in your business. And sometimes you go through a season where you have it figured out. And what happens is you don't have it figured out forever because something changes. The kids are home from school. The kids are back at school. It's this season of sports. Now you don't have sports. Now it's this. Now it's this. You have to be continually ready to learn and teach yourself the next thing. And that's one of the things that makes time management so tricky is you're never done. Some of you are in more of a position where your life just doesn't change as much. And that's awesome. If that's you, that's so great. You might be able to figure out some of this stuff once and then be done. But some of the rest of you might be like, darn it, you know what? Like I already had this figured out, but things are not working. Why are things not working? So hopefully today we can just go through some things that are going to be helpful to you. Whatever your time management struggle is, I would love if you drop it on the chat. So I asked for my community conversations on Sunday on Instagram what people's biggest time management struggle was. And here are some things that they said, but I would love to hear yours too. They said, I have a very hard time completing tasks I start. More than one person said that. Laziness, no motivation, bad habits. A lot of people said something in like that. No boundaries when it comes to work time. So they're finding themselves working when they should be enjoying family time, or vice versa. I am not getting my work done because I let the kids schedule, my family schedule, home schedule, caretaking schedule, whatever the thing is in their life, overwhelm my work time. Not using my dead time. So I call it dead time or time skittles. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But all that is those 5 minutes that you have here and there and there and there and there when you could be doing something, but 99% of people just start scrolling. It's like, it's unconscious. We don't even know we're doing it. You just pick up the phone and you start going like this. And it's really easy to think that that time doesn't add up to anything, but it does. Not being willing to pick what you sacrifice. So if every single thing in your life is your top priority, sacrifice will be picked for you. There is no way around the fact that you are going to have to prioritize your life in order to live a life that feels good to you. So we'll talk more about that. Letting the day happen to you. Total lack of intention, just tyranny of the urgent. If you have small children, if you had a ton of toddlers all at once like I did, that is your whole day. And if you're lucky, your whole night too. So much fun. You have to be intentional with your days. Procrastination, distraction, and then something that people didn't say, but that I caught through reading a lot of people's responses is many of us are realizing that possibly, particularly ladies, might have a little tish of the ADHD. And it manifests itself in all different ways. And one of the ways it manifests itself is having a very hard time with time management, a super hard time with executive functioning, getting things done. All of that is a little bit of how ADHD manifests for women. I don't have that at all, but one of my daughters does. And it is fascinating for me to watch how differently they arrange their life and the things that they struggle with that I do not struggle with at all. All the kids raised in my house are raised the same way. Some of them have these struggles, some of them don't. So if you think that's you, that's a whole thing. And just knowing possibly that that might be something that's going on in your life could really help you. There's so many things on Instagram now about women and ADHD. So if you think that's you, I'm not going to speak directly to that, but just know investigating some of the strategies for that can really help you in a very simple way, hack some of the things that you're struggling with that maybe you even think might be a character issue. So that's one of the things that we saw is a lot of times women with ADHD feel like they have some kind of character problem, like they're lazy, they're not motivated, and that's not the case. That's not the case. It's just a difference in the way that your brain works. And when you start teaching your brain, or when you start acting like your brain needs you to act, a lot of those things will resolve themselves. So just know that. I'm not an expert on that by any means. If you are looking for help with that though, if you guys remember Val Makowitz, she's an MVP in Arbonne. She has an ADHD coaching business. My daughter's been seeing her for a long time. She has been incredible. So if you're looking for that, I'll send you that information later. So the goal here is not that you run your life like I do. I'm going to be super honest with you. I'm a very, very high capacity person. This is just the way the Lord made me. It's not like something to brag about. It's like saying you're tall. Some of you were born tall. I was born really short. If you need help getting something off the grocery shelf, I am not your girl, right? Go hunt down Carrie Kane. She's going to help you get stuff off the top shelf. But I was born with a really high capacity. So just know when we're talking about this, the goal here is not at all that you organize your life like me, organize your business like me, do the things that I do, have the capacity that I do, get done when I get done. That is not the goal at all. The goal here is that so when you end your day or your week or your month, that you feel good about the balance of your priorities. That is the goal of time management. It is not necessarily to be a beast and to go hard all the time. That's not it for me at all. And that's not what I want you to take away from this at all. It is that so you feel comfortable with the balance of your priorities. So picture kind of your life with work as like a little pie chart. Who remembers that from school? I homeschool, so I get to read you fifth grade math all the time. But for some of you, it's been a long time. Pie charts are the ones that look like a circle, and they're divided up in the middle into little pieces of pie. So we all have 4 things in our time management circle. We have got time, talent/teamwork, tolerance, and treasure. Those are the 4 things that we have all been given in our time management circle. When you want to raise your capacity, when you want to be doing more, you will need to find a way to pump up one of those 4 things in order to make that circle grow. So for some of you, it's going to be a lot easier to pick one thing than the other thing. And that's completely okay. None of these 4 things is better than the other. It's just what we all have in order to kind of raise our capacity to be able to do more, to feel more efficient. But again, not with the goal that you're constantly working, with the goal that when you're done with your day, your week, your month, you feel comfortable and happy with how your priorities have balanced out. Very often, particularly if you have a lot of small children and you all own a business, here you are, you might not feel comfortable at the end of every day. That might be a goal for some time. I don't know that that's a realistic goal for every single day of your life. That is certainly not where my life has landed. And I've been doing this for more than 10 years. But if you can do it in the end of a week, if you can do it at the end of the month and you look back and it feels pretty good, that's all we're going for. Okay, so the first one is time. Everybody says everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. That is some bullshit. That is not true. Everybody does not have the same 24 hours in a day. And one of the things that I found really helpful kind of as an example is many of you guys have done 75 work, right? Who's done that? If you go onto any of the boards or the Reddit or whatever it is, you see all these conversations about how do you fit in that second workout, especially when it has to be 3 hours or more after the first one, whatever it is, right? You figure out all that. And then you're reading people's stuff and these gym bros will be like, well, I don't understand what you guys are struggling with. I do one before work and then I go home and I do one right after work. And that's not your life at all. Maybe you're a stay-at-home parent to a lot of very small babies and you homeschool, so they never leave at all. And your husband's not around to help. So your 24 hours to get those 2 workouts done looks very, very different than a single man in their 20s who has nothing to do but go to work between 9 and 5 every day. And that's it. He gets to sleep all night every single night, right? He gets to make whatever meals he wants. Possibly he has quite a bit more money than you. He can hire stuff out. Maybe his healthy meals are being made for him while he's at work, right? We do not have the same 24 hours in the day. And the same thing is true with Arbonne. So if you are trying to increase the amount of time you have, here's some ideas how to do this. This is kind of a scattershot thing. This is not do all of these. This is like, here's some ideas under this category. Take what works for you, ignore what does not work for you. I'm a huge proponent of playing in your strengths, playing to your natural abilities, your natural bent, your natural personality. Gets so much more done than trying to improve what you're not strong on. So whatever works for you out of this, take. So in order to increase your time, you might need to borrow time from something else. So one of the ways you can do this is finding ways to automate. There's a lot of you still doing every single thing manually instead of getting them on automation. And here's why. Because getting the automation part set up takes longer on the front end. So what you do instead is you take the 10 minutes every time to send the individual text, to rewrite that exact same text you send about what is the 30 days every single time. I know you're laughing because I did this for like probably the first 8 years of my business because it was too much for me to set it all up on the front end because that would have taken, I don't know, let's say 2 hours. Let's say that might have taken 2 hours, but doing it individually took me 5 minutes every time. I had the 5 minutes every time. I didn't feel like I had the 2 hours to sit and do it. But you want to know what the 2 hours gives you? All of your time back. So really automation is the way to go. Delegating. What can you kick off your own plate? Sorry to say, that might be something you need to do, particularly if you're somebody who has not added business to your life before. You already had this whole life, and I assume that your whole life took up the time that you had, like most of us, right? That's not unusual. Whether you're a parent or not a parent or whatever it is, you probably had a life that took up all the time you had. And then you just added another thing in here. You are going to have to make a room for this new thing you added in. And you're gonna have to find the time somewhere. So it might be that you need to delegate. It might be that you need to quit something. It is never popular when I say that, but it is the case. If you would like to run a successful business, it is possible that you may not be able to do every single thing that you do right now. So I was the leader of everything when I started this business. And I also ran a marathon, and I also did this, and I also did this, I also did this, right? Some of that stuff is my business became bigger and took more of my time, and I wanted to give it more of my time, right? This is not a situation where this business is taking from you. This business was giving me so much. I wanted to give it the time and respect it deserved because I was getting so much back from it. I needed to maybe not be the leader of everything. I needed to not lead that Bible study anymore. I needed to not volunteer for freaking everything because I can do it and people ask me a lot. They literally just asked me this year to teach co-op again for the 1 millionth time. And they said, I know you don't want to, but I know you're the only one who can get this done. And I was like, you got to say no a lot of times to stuff. So saying no more often. People will 1,000,000% ask you to do stuff, especially if they see you're efficient, you have a lot on your plate already and you're getting it done. They will continue to ask you to do stuff. Your job is saying no. That's it. Your whole job is assessing whether that's the right thing for you and saying no. It might not be for a season. It might be no for this season. Maybe carpool is not right for you this season. That does not mean forever. Our brains want to be so black and white about this stuff. Well, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to get a chance to do it again. That's not the case. 99% of the time, that's not the case. This exact same opportunity, whatever they're asking you to do, is going to come back. And yes, Francesca's saying it's okay to be selfish. It is okay to be selfish because you know what? Running a business well and competently is not selfish. That's only a thing that women tell themselves. You will never hear a man saying, running my business competently and well is selfish. You will never hear men say that. It's just something we put on ourselves. It's not selfish to say no to things people ask for. And again, using your dead time, we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's talk about a little bit about automation, some of those things you can pay for. So if you are still sending texts individually, maybe look into something like Project Broadcast. Project Broadcast looks like it's directly from you. It doesn't look like a group text, but it gets sent out to everybody at once. You write it once, you send it once, it's done. Even if you're right now copying and pasting into Facebook Messenger, which is something I did a lot of for a long time, so no shame in that. It's taking time. It's taking more time. You can do the same thing with emails. You can do the same thing with that same message. You keep writing about the 30 days. Stop writing the freaking message. Write it one time. Put it in your notes section. Record the voice memo one time. Put it in your notes section. Take the time to make that 90-second video. Here are my 3 most popular nutrition options. Put it on Vimeo. Put it in your notes section. Stop recreating the wheel every time. Get as much stuff as you can automated. What is on automation? Get that stuff done as much as possible. So sit down and make tags for stuff like your email, tags for stuff like your text. It's also stuff I was not doing because again, it takes more time on the front end to get set up. So I was not doing that. Find a template in Canva that you can use for most of your posts. Every time you go to make a post, don't go to Canva and search for a new template. Don't recreate it every time. Find one, get it set up with your brand colors, get it set up with the fonts that you like, and then adjust the image and adjust the wording every time. If you need to, you could have 2 or 3, but just don't recreate the wheel every single time. Your goal here is to make all of this stuff mindless as possible, so that you are in a state of flow with it. Batching your work, something else that I am honestly terrible at because I just have time to make that one sample right now. Never do one of anything. If you are going to make samples for somebody, get 50 of those dumb Green Synergy cards printed. Don't print one and then cut it and then do the glue dot and then stick the Green Synergy on. Don't do that. Sit down and bang out a bunch so that when you need them, they are ready to go. Does that mean you're never going to be doing just one? Of course not. But it makes a lot more sense to get it done all at one time. Same with shooting content. Do you know how much more work it takes to get ready, shoot a video, and then do it again tomorrow? It's so much easier to take 1 hour today and to shoot 4 videos and a ton of B-roll and then use it all month. It's so much faster and easier to batch that. And then don't forget to use the schedule features of stuff. Again, I am very guilty of this. Oh my gosh, I need to send my monthly text to my PCs, but it's 11:30 at night. Okay, I better do it tomorrow. Don't do that. Write it today, schedule it for the time tomorrow you want it to go out. Do things when it works for you. If you want to write all your texts for a whole month, go ahead and do that now. And then once a week, check on them. So let's say you're sending your text for your PCs who have a gift. Hi, Shannon, you've got a free gift. Redeem your gift. Here's what you do, blah, blah, blah. Go ahead, get it set up for the month. Send it on day 1 of September. Attach the free gift list. Oh, that's pretty. Go ahead and send it again on day 16. Have it all set up. But then on day 15, go and check. And everyone who's already ordered, you just take them out of the list that you already created that is already done. It is so much faster than constantly having part of your brain working on getting this stuff done. Because a lot of the mental load stuff is what slows you down. It's not the literal amount of time you have. It's what your brain is constantly working on that's nagging at you all the time. And if you do this, if you batch this and you schedule it, you're getting it off your plate. Your mental space will feel so much bigger. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay. Oh, I've got so much more under the time category. Assessing your priorities. When everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. The sooner that you take that in and actually believe it, and you're not annoyed by me saying that, the sooner you will see you can be so much more efficient and you'll feel so much better about your life. Not every single thing in your life can be a top tier priority. It just can't. You can't say, I'm not quitting this and I'm not quitting this and I'm not quitting this and I'm not quitting this, I'm not quitting this, and I'm not quitting this. And I'm also going to have the biggest killer business that feels good to me. All you're going to feel is tired. You're going to resent the business because you're giving it your crumbs and it's something just something else you have to do because you're exhausted and you won't say no to anything. You have to figure out what thing you are willing to sacrifice and pick the thing. If you do not pick the thing you are willing to sacrifice, I promise it will pick you. That is how it works. There is no scenario where you will not have to sacrifice anything if you don't prioritize. That does not exist. That's just not how the world works. Every yes you say is a no to something else. So for example, at our homeschool co-op, like I said, I've been asked to teach, I think I'm on year 15 or something in this co-op. I've been asked to teach so many years. I have said no every single year. This year I said yes because it's a desperate situation and I'm trying to get out of it as soon as humanly possible. They know that I'm doing it for a very small amount of time. But there are other jobs that need to be done. So let's say you're in this situation and you're at church and you're at your book club or whatever. There are other jobs that need to be done. Choose carefully the jobs that make sense for you. I have always been in charge of setting up lunch for the whole community because I can listen to Voxer, reply to Voxer, do whatever, as I'm the one setting up the taco bar, the salad bar, whatever. That gives me half an hour at someplace I had to be anyway. But instead of sitting in class and watching my kids learn the same thing that they've learned every single year for the last 15 years, which I could literally teach myself, which I do now teach myself, I go to the lunchroom, I set everything up, and I get that half an hour back for time. So I am serving, I am doing a volunteer job that they needed me to do, but I'm also doing a volunteer job that allows me to use my time wisely. A lot of things are like that. So pick what you're going to say yes to. Okay, so one of my favorite things is the microwave game. You ever stick something in the microwave for your kids and let's say it takes 90 seconds and you're just like, what are you doing? You're scrolling, right? You're just like, well, got to stand here for 90 seconds. Have you ever instead seen the amount of shit that you can get done in 90 seconds? Because it is unhinged. It is unhinged. I am so guilty of thinking a minute and a half is no time at all. But the more you play the microwave game, the more you see how much stuff you can truly bang through in a very, very, very small amount of time. So some other examples of dead time, sometimes people call it time skittles, but to be honest, I looked that up for this training and I can't find that anywhere. So that might just be a weird thing that we say, is in your car, in your commute, on the treadmill, in the waiting room for any of the million things that you are probably in waiting rooms for these days, in the pickup line, waiting for people to be done with practice, watching a game where your kid is not playing, the time in between, all the games at tournaments, when kids are watching TV. So if you are a mom to a small child and you still think that Dora requires your full attention and your child's full attention, I am here as a much older mom to tell you, no, it doesn't. Do they care if you sit with them? Yes, they do. Do they care if you are watching Dora? No, they do not. They are zoning out too. You can get a lot done in that 26 minutes. Trust me. Time when you're cooking. Do you know how much dead time there is when you're cooking? As somebody who does this more of her life than I really would enjoy to do, there's so much dead time when you're cooking where you need to stand right there. Otherwise something bad's going to happen, but you really aren't doing anything literally right that minute. All of that stuff can be used to get a lot of your list done because so much of what we need to do for this business takes 5 minutes or less. So just keeping a running list of 5-minute tasks. If your brain panics in that scenario, and that's why you're scrolling, try to keep a running note in your phone of things that need to be done that take a very small amount of time and just open it up and start going. Okay. And I introduce you to another concept. I call this triaging. So it's what they do at the hospital when a lot of people come to the emergency room at once. How do they decide who they're going to help? They help the person who's about to die, right? You, who maybe just needs a little bit of stitches, is not enjoying your day, but they're not going to help you first. They're totally going to help the person having a heart attack and the people who are in the car crash first before they take a look at your small cut from cutting up that avocado. That's how it works. That's what triaging is. Many people do not have this as a natural skill in their own life. So the essence of self-discipline is doing the important thing rather than the urgent thing. And what we do all the time is the urgent thing. So this is the hack that I think lets you get a lot more done in the same amount of time. So here's how it works. You're looking at your to-do list and you teach yourself to organize it by things that can work on themselves while you do other things. So if you need to bake bread, do laundry, send a text to your PCs, place one order, answer Voxers, and pick a kid up from school, what do you do first this afternoon? Here's how my brain organizes this, and I swear it really does help you get more done. First, you start the laundry because the laundry will do itself while you're doing other things. This is a way that you're already multitasking without it being stressful for you. Don't start the laundry last because then it's not doing itself while you're doing other things. Same deal, you're going to start the bread because it's going to need to do other things while you do other things. So start the bread and listen to Voxers, especially if they're from your team, so that you can answer their questions and they can continue working while you're doing other things. Then you set the bread to rise because it will do its other things while you're doing whatever. Then you get in the car to go get the kid. While you're parked and waiting for the kid to come to the car, you send that text and you place the order if you have time. Do those two things. Come home, flip the laundry, put the bread in the oven, play with your kid, help with homework, eat dinner, whatever. Fold the laundry while you listen to the Voxers that have come back in because you already answered their Voxers, means you're going to get another one back, right? Because this is how this goes. You can also then place your orders that came in after the text you sent this morning, because you're going to have to leave some amount of time after you send your text about having a free gift for them to text you back, say what they want, then you can place the order. That way you're getting all of those things done in a much shorter amount of time, when if you did not organize it that way, you would not be able to get those tasks done because you're not organizing it by the things that can work on themselves while you do things that require hands-on, one-on-one, just you attention. So in order to make that more successful, you might have to break down your to-do list into very, very small steps. So let's say you need to send that text. You might have to break that into at least 3 steps. So one step is taking a look at your web stats, team reports, and figuring out who has a free gift. That might be one task. Then the second task might be writing the text. Maybe just do that in the notes section of your phone so you don't feel the pressure of like getting it out. And then the third thing might be actually putting it into whatever you use for texting, putting the tagged people, because you did the automation part where those people are tagged, so they're easy to find now, and sending it out. You might need to break that into 3 parts in order to make this little triage scenario work for you, but it does work if you can get it done that way. The other way you can triage is by impact. So that's basically what they do at the hospital. So putting your attention on the tasks or giving your time to the tasks that have the most impact. If you are somebody who's like, I'm telling you, Shannon, I do not have freaking time, you don't understand. Of course, 100%, I hear you. That means you need to not do the things that you find fun in this business. You need to do the things that have the biggest impact, because 20% of the work you do has 80% of the impact. And if you are someone who truly cannot devote any more time, none of these hacks are going to work for you, none of this, you need to really just focus on those things that have the biggest impact. Obviously, we can tell you what that is. Sponsoring is going to be one of them. If you are somebody who's not here to build a team, you have to figure out what normally is the biggest impact for you. So for me, using social media to build my business, that might be a 3-minute video with my face in it. And then getting that posted, making sure I'm using ManyChats. That's another way to use automation. If you want to know more about that, I'll tell you about that later, so that they can drop the word September and it'll automatically be sent to them. More information about the things I was talking about in the video. That's just kind of another way of looking at it for triage if you do not have time. Okay, moving on to talent. Until you value yourself, you are not going to value your time. You have to value your strengths. You have to believe that you are bringing strengths to this business that other people need and want. You have to feel confident about what you have to offer, because otherwise you devalue your own time. And when you do that, that's when we start to get that sense of what we sometimes call laziness. We call it lack of motivation. We don't want to get things done. It all comes down to you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe in what you have to offer. You don't feel confident. So it's a lot more comfy to just be constantly thinking, I should be doing this. I should be doing this. I should be doing this. And instead just be scrolling on your phone, watching your trash TV, whatever it is, because you don't believe in yourself. So playing to your strengths makes you most efficient. Wherever you do not have a natural talent is what you can be covering with teamwork. That's why I call this talent/teamwork. So there's a lot of ways, even if you yourself don't have an Arbonne team, to use teamwork, like right here in the Boom Squad, like we're doing right now, to cover. So there are people in this Boom Squad who do not ever want to train. Not ever, right? That's completely fine. You want to know who's covering that? Me, right now. That's good. That is a strength of ours, that each of us can play to our strengths and be able to be more efficient, get more done, and get done what needs to be done is by playing to our strengths. So if you have a hard time completing tasks, have you thought about accountability? Have you ever heard of body doubling? This is a technique that Val taught my daughter when she was doing ADHD coaching. Body doubling is like you call your best friend on FaceTime and you set her up next to you and she sits there with you while you're doing the thing that needs to get done. That might be cleaning your room. That might be whatever it is. You guys aren't teenagers. So it might be set up your accountability partner on FaceTime and you are sending these 3 things right now. That might be all it is. So if you have a hard time getting things done, you might need a physical buddy. And since it's so hard to be physically with each other, sometimes these days, FaceTime works really, really well for that. Also, automation. If you have a hard time getting things done, automation is the answer to that because you just do it once and then it's getting done for you. If you think your problem is laziness, lack of motivation, bad habits, this is the tough love part. Everyone take a deep breath. I'm just going to tell you, you're not a child. Stop asking yourself if you feel like doing any of this. Don't ask yourself if you feel motivated to do it. You do things because you said you were going to do them. Do you bring your kids to school every day where you feel like it or not? I hope so. Not in my town, but all the rest of you live someplace better. I'm hoping that you do. I don't ask myself if I feel like going to get my kid after school every day. I do not. I am telling you, she is right in the middle of all the things I want to be doing. There's 85 other things I'd rather do. Do I ever just be like, hey, Charlotte, good luck getting home from school today, man? No, you don't do that. Why do you not put the same importance and the same respect on the things that you said you were going to do, but that no one is checking up on you for? That is what self-discipline is. So that is our goal here. Our goal here is self-discipline. You do it because it needs to be done and you said you were going to do it. That's it. That's all I got for you. Stop asking yourself if you feel like it. I feel like doing virtually nothing in the second that I do it. And I'm always glad I did it. Mostly going to the gym, whatever is that thing for you. Okay, let's talk about no boundaries. So either you let work overflow into your family time and you feel crappy about that, or vice versa, you let the kids dominate your life and you never get your work done. Those are 2 sides of the same coin. They're not anything different. One of them kind of is rewarded more. Workaholism is definitely rewarded more. But the other one is where you get into that black and white thinking and think you can't be a good parent if you are on your phone at all. You can't be a good parent if you have to say, hang on 1 second, honey, I'm listening to something else. And it's just a weird shame spiral you're telling yourself. There is no truth to that. And I can tell you because my kids are almost, not all adults, but many of them are heading toward adulthood. That's not what they remember. And it does not bother them at all. Is there a place where, yes, you're too much? Sure, absolutely. There absolutely is a place where you're always on your phone and you're not ever paying attention to your kids. That's a real thing. But I don't think many of you are in that place, particularly if you're somebody who has a real sense of guilt about it. I think more often you're in the place of telling yourself a story that you can't be a good parent at this. You can't be a good at this. So just pay attention to where that goes. But you might just need to, if that's like your very, very deepest feeling, you might need to get up before them. And I am telling you that as somebody who does not enjoy that. And I would really love you to get your sleep. But if that's the situation, you might have to do that. I did that for a very long time in my business because I was homeschooling 5 little kids and my days were like balls to the wall all the time. And I just could not find a way to get done what I needed to get done if I wasn't getting up several hours before them. Did I enjoy that? No. Do I still have to do that now? Also, no. Some of this stuff is just a season and we get into a place where we think, I don't want to do that forever, so I'm not going to do it at all. Many of these things are not forever. They might just be for a small amount of time where you need this extra time, where your business is in a place where it is crazy, 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 crazy. I'll tell you, if you're in a place where your business feels crazy, you will come to a place where there's a lull. You will. It's normal. And then you wait a while and it'll feel crazy again. You'll be able to change your habits in the place where there's a lull. So if that's the place you're in now, don't think that just because you're like running to get to area manager, so there's a lot going on in your business, a lot of people are asking you questions, that won't be that way forever. After the promotion, it doesn't necessarily stay at the level it is when you're working for a promotion. Very often, it does go back to a little bit quieter and people don't need as much from you. Okay. Procrastination or distractions, I would go with body doubling for that too. I think it's really, really helpful if you are somebody who's procrastinating to set an appointment with your accountability partner and just have them body double you. You don't have to be doing the work together. You don't have to be doing the same thing. You don't have to be helping each other with the work. It's not that kind of accountability. It's literally just hanging on the phone with somebody so that they are watching you do your thing. For whatever reason, for a lot of people's brains, that's really helpful. Also, there are a lot of apps where you can lock yourself out of apps. So if that's your sitch, if you cannot put it down, that's totally normal. Those apps were legitimately created to give you that bad dopamine hit. So you have a very hard time putting your phone down once you start scrolling, because the more you're on, the more it learns who you are and what you like. And so the better it gets. It's like a circle that keeps doubling back on itself because it just gets better and better and better, which makes it harder and harder and harder for you to set that down. If that is you, they make apps where you can lock yourself out of your own Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever your poison is, you can lock yourself out. If you have a smart TV, same deal. If TV is your jam, probably they make that for your TV too. Okay. And consider trading work with people. So if you're in a position now where you're not in a place where you can necessarily invest, so you don't have a ton of money in your business, but you do need to either delegate, you need some way to play in your own strengths, but you're not good at something, is there somebody that you could maybe trade work with? So maybe one of you is really good at Canva, and maybe that person could bang out double of whatever they do in Canva that's not personal. They could help you get that done for you. And maybe you could do something else for her because you're really good at XYZ thing and you could really help. Maybe you're a good writer. Some of you are very good writers. Maybe you could help write the text. Maybe she could do the graphic design and you guys could just trade work. So just think about who else you can barter with, either in Arbonne or not in Arbonne. A lot of people in our homeschool community love to barter stuff. That's not how I grew up, but it's very common in my community now. Who could you barter with? Do you know somebody who's awesome at something where if you don't have the money to invest in something, you could maybe trade something? Consider that if there's things you're trying to get off your plate, things that you feel like you're not good at and you're not going to become good at and is never going to become your strength. Think about that as a way to delegate and to get things off your own plate, but to not necessarily invest. Okay, tolerance. So tolerance is what I call energy. Time management is not a time problem for 99% of us. It's not. It's an energy management problem. So there's some things that you do that drain your energy and leave you very tired. And there are some things that you do that don't seem to bother you at all. Try to stack your days in a way that you do not have all your energy draining stuff in one spot. That is why sometimes I might say no to something like, oh, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like when my kids were little, I might say, no, we can't go to the park today because I know that later tonight I need to cook dinner. I need to clean up dinner. I know daddy's not going to be home because it's harvest or it's spring. And I need to train tonight, or I need to go do a party tonight, or I have a pop-up event tonight. It's not that I don't have time to take them to the park. I very often would have had time. I didn't have the energy to do all of that and not be completely burnt out by it. So look at your days in terms of energy management and see if you can shift some things in a way that it doesn't require more time from you, but it allows your energy to be in a more peaceful place. When I started setting up my life to flow with my energy, that's when all of this started feeling very easy to me. That is how I can homeschool all of these kids and can be an MVP for some amount of time and can do all of the things I do because I only set up things that feel good to me. So I'm on our art museum board. As soon as I joined, they were like, we would love for you to be in charge of fundraising. And I said, oh, hells no, absolutely not. Could I do it? Yeah. That would drain the heck out of my energy. It would be exhausting for me. I would start hating being on this board. Instead, I can be on membership and I can plan events. Those two things do not drain my energy. I love doing that kind of stuff. You're still doing some of the things that need to get done, but just really think about setting up your life in a way that plays with your own energy and where you have the tolerance instead of not. Okay. Treasure. This is the last one. Treasure obviously means money. Some of you in a place where you have a lot more money than time. If that is you, use your money to get stuff off your plate. Buy the pre-done meals, have somebody clean your house, have somebody take a look at your social media, hire a virtual assistant. It is impossible sometimes to find what you want to find, but I've gone through a lot of virtual assistants. I am finally on one 10 years later who's actually banging stuff out. It means things are truly not on my plate anymore. Really, if you have the money, do that. If you don't have the money, that's where you're going to blow up one of these other sections so that you don't need to be spending that money. But what is one thing that you could invest in that would actually give you time back? I think a lot of times we're guilty of not investing in things, but spending money on things easily. But then when it comes to something for the business, we're like, oh no, I can't spend that. That's family money. I can't spend that. But you buy something else, right? Like you buy those dumb Amazon clothes that you click through to, or you're paying for a gym membership where you literally have not been in 18 months, or you're going out for drinks with the girls and it costs $100 to have 4 glasses of wine, or, whatever it is. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do those things. I'm a spender. I will do every single one of those things. I'm just saying, don't lie to yourself about it being a money issue when it's not. Think about one thing that instead you could use to get stuff off your plate. Is there anything that you do not need to be spending money on? Go check all your apps that you spend money on, see what you can kick out of there. I usually find a lot of money when I do that because goodness knows I've signed up for 85 things that I don't use anymore. Just try to find one thing that you can actually have things taking off your plate. Or resources. So treasure is not just money, it's also your resources. How often are you not on Tuesday Tips? You are not using the Be Well and Tell newsletter. You are not using some of the things that are provided to you by your team, by Arbonne, by whoever. That's often, right? We are super guilty of that. I know it's not just me, that there are things already being provided for us that we're not using. You don't necessarily have to invest anything of your own when so much of that is provided for us, and it's really excellent. If you've been around a long time and you're irritated because it didn't used to be excellent with you, they're past that point. Go back and look at some of the things that are on boards. If you are not looking at the boards and seeing what's in there, you are probably missing stuff. There's a lot provided for you every single month. If you are not looking at Be Well and Tell, both the website and the newsletter, look at that. If you are not familiar with the launch website and you are not using the launch website, take a look at that. All of this stuff is being provided for you. These are all resources you can use already without investing any of your own money. So keeping that in mind. So very end here. Not being willing to sacrifice means that you are going to end up sacrificing the thing that you want most. I have never seen it fail. It happens all of the time. So be willing to take really hard looks at your priorities in all of those things, in your time, in your talent, in your teamwork, in your tolerance, your energy, your treasure, your money, all of those things. And look at how they're playing out in your day. And if you're somebody who's saying, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time, and that's a story you're telling yourself, just know that having a daily routine that works for you and that organizes your priorities, following some of those things that we've talked about today, is the way to feel good, not just about your business, because Arbonne is not just about feeling good about your business and feeling like crap about the rest of your life. This is really something that's intended to create freedom for you. And if you feel like your business right now is not creating freedom for you, I am not saying is not taking work. Do not hear me say that. It is going to take work and it is going to take time. But if it's not leading to freedom for you, and if you're not operating your business in a way that feels like you're aligning with your priorities, take a look at some of these things and be willing to make the hard decisions. Because when you can run your business from a place of peace and flow, and you kind of feel like you're in line with your own values, it will feel really good to you. And other people can feel that energy. We do not want you in a place of burnout and resentment, and this isn't fun. We want you in a place of like, oh my gosh, look at what we can do. This business gives us the freedom to operate exactly how we want to operate and how it works best for us. So take advantage of that. Don't get stuck in a story about not having enough time. Take a look at where you can make yourself find time and like take advantage of the opportunity of freedom that we've been given here, because it is huge. It's amazing. And I really excited by it. And I'm really passionate about it. And I want us to operate from that place instead of the place of like, I don't have time. I can't do it. I have to do stuff for my business and I don't want to, because that's not fun. People can feel it. And it doesn't feel good to us and it doesn't feel good to them. All right. That's that. I haven't looked at the chat at all, guys. I'm assuming you guys are fine. This was not rocket science, but if there's anything in particular, let me know. Otherwise, we will see you next week.
Thanks, Shannon.
Welcome, guys.